presents the Met Open, 100 years.
When we look at the people that enter the Met Open, more than half of those players are amateurs.
47 years into the storied history of this championship, and the improbable occurred. Chet Sanick ended the lengthy run of professional victories.
Chet was the first of 7 amateur winners of the Met Open. I think his story is interesting because he was truly one of the greatest amateur players to ever play out of the state of New Jersey, a state open champion. He was a huge man, 6'4", 230, and he's a guy that was known for kind of his power game back in the day that didn't exist.
In 1967, the championship returned to Winged Foot, the site of Chet's victory, and again, another amateur, Jerry Corville Sr., prevailed. But the watershed moment for amateurs came some 2 decades later.
George Zaringer in 1985 becoming the first player to hold the Met Amateur and Met Open titles in the same year.
I think I was kind of numb.
A remarkable feat, just like his 2 runner-up finishes and a record 9 times as the low am.
If there's a swing we could wake up with tomorrow, George's would be one of them.
George did everything well. Drove it long back in the day of woods and putted it great.
A man that clearly could have made a living out on the tour.
Something many Met Open champions have done with great success. Like Don Massengale, who has a pair of PGA Tour and Champions Tour victories. Locally, he's known for his record 8-shot comeback to win the Met Open in 1972. And the winner in 1979, Bill Britton, who enjoyed 15 successful seasons on tour, recording 1 PGA Tour victory. Jim McGovern, a champion in 1987, went on to win the Shell Houston Open 6 years later.
Phenomenal. I can't believe it. Hard to believe, really. It's awesome.
Jim Albus wins the Senior Players Championship.
Jim Albus was the man.
Pub Links player from Staten Island, eventually became the longtime professional at Piping Rock, won 2 Met Opens. I also remember 2 dominating performances by Bruce Zabriskie. He won, I think, by 12 shots at Stanwich and 4 or 5 shots at Quaker Ridge.
He had the confidence to win, and when he was sort of on, he was going to be very tough to beat.
More recently, Andrew Svoboda parlayed regional success into national prominence. The 2003 champion already has 2 Web.com wins to his credit. And then there's the story of Johnson Wagner, who in 2001 didn't really know much about the championship, and vice versa.
I do remember the first time I even knew there was a guy named Johnson Wagner, 2001 at Bethpage. And I remember standing on the 16th tee and said, so that's who this kid is. Turned out he was more than a kid. He was about to become a man right there.
Shot 66 the last round to beat Rick Hartman, and I know he got the check. I was an amateur, so I think he and I became fast friends after that.
Only the 2nd person in history to hold both the Met Am and the Met Open titles at once, but he was just getting started.
He went on to win the Ike and then followed that up with a win in his last amateur major at the Met Amateur at Piping Rock.
That leads him up to the Met Open, the 3rd of their major events that year. Turned pro just before the Met Open and goes out and wins it. So he won 5 MGA majors in a row and with phenomenal scores.
I felt like it was the purest golf I've ever played just because I didn't really care about making a check. I cared about bringing home that beautiful Met Open trophy.
I remember grabbing his mother saying, he's going to be in the record books forever. Nobody's ever going to do this again.
For 100 years and counting, for countless players, this has been the start of something big.
The Met Open was a big part of me making it as a professional. I mean, it started my career. I count it up there with my PGA Tour wins and Nationwide Tour wins.
Next on the Met Open, 100 years, the incomparable venues.